We got this from CNBC. Airlines cancel more than 700 U.S. flights as FAA ordered shutdown cuts begin. And, I'm of two minds on this one because IAD, DCA, those are our airports. Mm-hmm. We could technically do Baltimore, but it is like an hour 40 from us, so it sucks. But they're going to be hit 20%. And so this shutdown is bothering me because we're going to have trouble with our guests. We've got tomorrow for our live show, we got like 6 people that are flying in. And I hope that those flights don't get canceled. It's going to really screw up our operations here. That being said, initially it was obvious. Democrats in the shutdown were saying we want to extend ACA benefits to non-citizens, DACA recipients, asylees. Republicans said, well, they're illegal immigrants. They said, no, they're not. However, at every step, Republicans could have ended the filibuster. Yep. And they're choosing not to do it. And Trump is saying they should. So the funny thing is Democrats coming out and saying this is Republicans' fault because they could end the filibuster. And I'm like, Democrats, I agree, Trump, do it. Or John Thune, do it. Yeah. And they're not doing it.
My worry is that I get these instincts and I think to myself, I'm not hearing enough from Republicans. Like, you guys got to start talking to regular Americans about the economy. You better start talking. You better let that transgender stuff, let that go for now, okay? Because what I care about is inflation, is the price of things. And if Americans feel uneasy, which we're starting to feel, and you're not talking to us and letting us know that there's a plan. And I'm not saying they're not, but it's the feeling I get. I'm just not getting enough of that communication. That's why you're going to start losing elections. That's a problem, man. Don't blow this advantage.
I think you're 100% right. I get a lot of people in my mentions on X and stuff, and they'll be like, this issue, that issue. Donald Trump hasn't produced enough, hasn't deported enough people. He hasn't brought indictments against enough people. They haven't released enough information on this particular issue or whatever. And I'm like, look, these are all important to a narrow segment of the population. They're very important to a narrow segment of the population. But if you want to win elections, you have to focus on kitchen table issues.
Correct.
We had significant double-digit inflation just a few years ago, and inflation is a leader. Wages take time to catch up. The administration needs to articulate that. They need to tell the American people that they're aware of that they're aware that they're struggling. They can't. Donald Trump just the other day was saying, the economy's the greatest, blah, blah, blah. And if people don't feel that,
it's a problem.
And they hear the people in the government saying that, they feel like they're being told that their issues don't matter to the people in the government, and that will lose you elections. They need to address these.
I'll give you a metaphor for this. We have to get away from these sort of like colorful enemies. It's very fun to create. Look, Captain America, we want to watch Captain America kill Nazis with his shield. The joke is, but it's true, if you really wanted to save Americans, you got to tackle diabetes.
Yeah.
But you don't want to watch a movie where Captain America is telling Americans that they're eating too much sugar with graphs. You can't use your shield, man. But that is actually what Republicans have to start doing. I don't want to hear about the toxins in my food. I want to hear about the fact that people are eating too much, if you really want to get to the subject.
Here's the problem. We had this guy on Mark Grimes. He's a Canadian guy. Mm-hmm. And he said, no, we need good trade between America and Canada. We're the best trade partners. And I said, nope, tariffs are great. Double all the tariffs. Shut it down. And he said, you guys rely on trade from us. You need our aluminum. And then I said, we can get aluminum in the United States. We got bauxite mines in Arkansas. And then he's like, well, but you can't get all of your aluminum. So I looked it up and he was correct.
Yeah.
We cannot get all of our aluminum just solely in the United States. So then I said, okay. I was like, what mines does Canada, like, the question is, why would Canada have more bauxite than we do on the same continent? They don't. They have none.
They have none.
They have none. And so here's what happens. The United States gives away our aluminum refineries to Canada for no reason at all.
Yeah.
I was going to swear because it gets me riled up. No reason. And then we have to negotiate with them on a resource we could refine here. They import it from China, Brazil, Guinea, Australia. We could just import it ourselves, and our aluminum would be cheaper, and American lives would be better. This game they're playing is extract the U.S. economy and value and give it to other countries to normalize economies.
Is that what's going on?
The general idea is with the North American Free Trade Agreement, now the USMCA, the moneyed interests wanted to normalize the economies between North America, Canada, and Mexico, which effectively makes an economic bloc. It makes governance somewhat easier. It makes the exchange of goods much more. They can move more easily, because if the labor for a farmer making avocados in Mexico is comparable to a farmer in the United States, trade can be more seamless. The problem is if the labor is worth less. So we're going to import our slave labor from China. We're going to send our products to China for refining, for manufacturing, bring it in here at slave rates. But North America, we're gonna equalize. This means the United States is going to go down. Canada and Mexico are going to go a little bit up. Mm-hmm. That's a ridiculous prospect.
And the argument would be, people would say, look, you can buy a flat screen TV for $200 now when it would have cost $1,000 because everything was made in the United States. But you got to go back to this. Yes, maybe when you have Walmart and they can sell everything for a lot cheaper, you'd still pay a price for abundance and efficiency. And that price sometimes can be the death of a town. So you got a lot of stuff, but nobody's got a job.
Yeah, well, that was the riff.
So real, just to finish my point on the tariffs. We were talking about the economy. So I do believe the tariffs are having a negative impact on prices. Mm-hmm. Like prices are getting bad in a lot of areas. The problem is the point you made about Captain America and diabetes. If you go to the American people and say, if we do not stop this free trade exportation system that we have, as you mentioned, you will have cheap milk with no job and no money.
Right.
And you won't be able to buy your cheap
milk. You got to tell me that. I need more
but
communication from...
I agree, yeah. But I got to tell you, I'm standing next to Zoran Mamdani, and I say, listen, if we put tariffs now, your prices will go up a little bit, but over the next 10 years, you're going to have substantially more buying power and homegrown products, better jobs, better money. And Zoran goes, I'll give you the milk for free.
Yeah.
Guess who wins the election?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, again, that's probably because people have bought into what they were sold, probably mainly from the boomer generation, and it hasn't worked out. You got student debt. You can't afford your rent in New York City or wherever it might be. The other thing to keep in mind about New York City and Zoran Mamdani is that New York City, and my family's from New York City. It used to be a city of families. Middle class, it was a neighborhood. You had neighborhoods. People made an honest living. The average rent was like $600 to $1,000, whatever it was. And it became slowly but surely a city full of people who support the economy, so workers who make very little money, and then primarily foreign money, a lot of foreign money, a lot of Asian money, Russian money until recently, etc., and a bunch of yuppies who don't have children, who are not married. And so the things like crime and the price of milk aren't really that relevant to them. This is a place they come to find a husband or a wife, and they're going to leave anyway. This is a place where they hang, they drink too much, they spend too much time at night. It's a great place to be young and rich and professional. Okay, so all of those issues that Mamdani is going to mess with aren't really going to affect you. Crime, I'll take a taxi. I'm not worried about the subway, et cetera, et cetera.
If you're rich.
If you're rich.
Yeah.
So this never would have flown before, but now.
Well, that's what you saw. The exit polling is native-born New Yorkers voted overwhelmingly for Cuomo.
Yeah.
It was the transplants and immigrants that voted heavily for Mexico.
Do you know what percentage of New York is native-born? 30.
Yeah,
yeah.
20-30%.
That makes
and
sense.
I think 48% are American-born.
Yeah. Well, and it's this new form of transplants, too, because prior it was the yuppies, the stereotype, Patrick Bateman stereotype. Mm-hmm. But now they're calling them yuckies, as young creatives.
Yuckies.
And it's these people that live, it's a very on-the-nose name. They live in Bushwick, East Williamsburg, Clinton Hill, these sorts of neighborhoods. And they're not really these upwardly mobile, professional suit and tie wearing people. These are people that wear tote bags. Mm-hmm. They love Zoran. That branding really resonates with them, and so it's a completely different type of leftism.
I'm gonna call them Yucca.
Yucca.
What's
could work.
Yucca?
Young urban communist assholes.
But yeah. So,
also, if you've ever had Yucca, it is delicious.
Are those people likely to stay in New York long term, or they're going to be
But it's weird because they didn't move to New York because of the job. Like this is what separates the yuppies from the yuckies. Is the yuppies were in finance or whatever, they had to move to New York, and then they just got into the vibe once they got there. The yuckies dream of Brooklyn. They dream of like a crappy apartment building with the fire escape.
Yeah, because they don't have to come in contact with objective reality.
Right.
You got a whole generation of people who've never been punched in the face, figuratively and realistically. Like there's something about working with your hands and having to make ends meet, build a business, build a brand. you can't afford to be theoretical. There's a bottom line every single month.
You know the problem is that bullying is good, but some of it went too far.
Yeah.
And so the bullying where they were physically disabling and harming children to the point where they had permanent injuries is like, holy, that's got to stop.
Yeah.
But the bullying where the other kids would make fun of you because you had a goofy shirt on was good.
Right.
Yeah.
And now we were like, no bullying at all in any way. And kids grow up soft as cookie dough.
That's right.
And terrified of everything around every corner.
Yeah. I will say I have a 14-year-old son. A lot of that stuff is changing.
Sometimes you just got to whack him. Right?
I do this joke, but it's true. My daughter got caught in one algorithm. She's 17. And, she can argue with you on different levels. It's unbelievable. But she's essentially a socialist. Thank you, TikTok. My son is just a tad to the right of Genghis Khan. Okay? And so are his friends, dude.
Yeah.
So are his friends, because what happened was, and it was predictable, he was told he checked a dominant cultural box. He was the problem. He was the patriarch. He was the oppressor. And boys are very good at organizing and fighting back, and they have a sense of humor, but they're also vicious, and they have an inherent understanding that the world's a kick in the nuts, and you better start simulating that experience, or you're not going to be able to fly in this world. Because I think men and boys in general, we tend to, if a SEAL Team 6 guy comes in and he's got some battle scars, all of us we all just kind of go, hey, there's daddy. That's the alpha. I'll follow you in the battle. You know what I mean?
To some degree, but I think.
I'm a little gay, so that's what I said.
Right. But I also think
Daddy's
there's a large portion of guys where it's like there's some dude who's a contractor, plumber, and he's got a big belly and he's sitting there at the table and he's with his buddies, and then the SEAL team guy walks in and he thinks, I could take him.
Yeah, no, of course. Again, I had this another joke. I always say this, and it's so true. When a man meets another man in a room, there's all the protocol. Hey, how you doing? But it doesn't matter how educated. It doesn't matter how. The only question in the room, actually, the first time you meet a man is, could I kill this motherfucker? Right? Like, if we're naked in a room, who walks out first?
Well, so the thing is, I probably shouldn't reveal this, but I think it's fair to. We're in a room here full of guys. Women don't understand. When men meet other men and there's no women around, they first wrestle.
Correct.
To determine who's in charge.
Women don't know about a lot of things about men. Like, we have sperm cramps. They don't know about that. They have no idea.
Sperm cramps?
Oh, it's
never heard of that, bro.
You got to go to the doctor.
That's why he's been grabbing his dick the whole
Worst.
time.
Yeah, it's the worst. And we have to go through it. And women just don't understand. They don't know.
Guys
I don't either, but that sounds good. Sperm cramp.
When a man meets another man and there are women present, they shake hands. And the woman doesn't notice, but they're eyeing each other.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude.
Mess you up.
There's even the head nod. It's you head nod down as respect, head nod up as I know you, or let's fight.
Yeah.
Even within the head nod.
By the way, I'm always I go to Archetype Boxing in Austin. I box and I do this jiu-jitsu. It couldn't be. It's basically a bunch of straight guys that are a nose hair away from banging each other. I mean, you know what I mean? I'm the other day I was working takedowns. I had my buddy's back, and he's like, okay, stay on his back. Put your ear on the middle of his back. Get your hips close to him. I'm like, this is
It's aggressive cuddling in pajamas.
As gay as it gets.
It's like one
Aggressive
beer
cuddling
later,
in
it's all
pajamas.
over.
Dude, let's stop pretending.
I'll say this though about your daughter and your son is actually I think the difference is not so much that the algorithm. I do believe the algorithm puts people in places.
Yeah.
But in my experience, women want status quo. Men they challenge status quo.
Yeah.
Not absolutely, but
They do.
I worked for a nonprofit where all of the managers were women, and their revenue was down, and so they said just keep doing what we've always done because it's just a downturn and it worked before, it'll work again. And I said, you're insane. You are going to go out of business before any recovery happens, and we have to change what we're
Hold
doing.
that thought, because I want to bring it back to what you said about bullying. Part of bullying, what you just said, is exactly that. When men are together, you have to have a bully who says, hey, dude, what you're doing is ridiculous. You're a moron. It's not working. And if you can't take that criticism, you're off the team. Think about every good old boy network that people criticize. You know what the good old boy networks created? I don't know. Tech, Hollywood.
Yeah.
the physics renaissances that pushed us way beyond our biology. That when men get together, what happens is they are ruthless with each other because the only thing that matters is results, bitch. And if you have a problem with that, you're off the team. Well, look at a football team. You think they're nice to each other? You miss that pass. You ever see Dan Marino when his receivers would miss a pass? The dude would just look at the guy. This is like one of his best friends, and he'd go, "Are you kidding me? Fucking kidding? You dropped that pass?" Like and
he'd go like
that's,
this. Like,
that's how you get better.
Yeah.
You know, you think it was fun to play on Michael Jordan's team?
Without that input, right? So you're in a team situation or whatever. Without the input, the feedback from doing something wrong, people don't think that it's that big of a deal. You can't just be like, "Oh, you dropped it. It's okay. You'll get it next time." No, there has to be negative consequences.
Yes,
that's what motivates people, and particularly people that are highly motivated. You want strong affirmation that this is unacceptable.
Correct. And by the way, you don't get good at anything without sucking for a long time.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't care what.
Not me.
You are different.
Always good.
Tim,
Everything.
Tim's got magic fingers, by the way. He was shredding a guitar. Tim, I walked in
I was
and
kidding,
Tim
by the
Pool
way.
was
I practice a lot.
He was actually singing a song. Your voice is nice.
Angelic, they say.
I was going to say, dude.
Sultry.
It was angelic. You know what? You know what you did? Your voice sent me. And I never say that.
I was singing the Iron and Wine cover of Such Great Heights by the Postal Service.
Is that true?
That's what I was playing when you walked in. Yes.
Postal Service is a good band. Good stuff.
Yeah, but the bullying, the football thing, I got a little out of control. It was like second string linemen were like Richie Incognito. Like, wasn't he like the backup left tackle?
No, may I tell a story about Richie Incognito?
Of course, please.
I got a story about that guy. Now, he is a blonde silverback. Okay, if a silverback's in the room, he's gonna take a minute and he's gonna go, I'm gonna have my hands full with that guy because Richie Incognito. And I didn't know he was a football player. I was at the Playboy Mansion. Now I shook his hand. When I shake a man's hand, my hand goes around your hand. Please understand that this part of his hand, the meaty part here, look at my fingers. I didn't go all the way around. There's only one other person. There was a Samoan that happened. He makes Samoans look demure. Okay, and I looked at him and I go, what do you squat? And he goes, my knee's acting up right now, but I put up some weight. I go, give me the number, please. He goes, most said it was 805. Now hold. And he's a great guy, but he was always known as the guy who would beat the shit out of everybody on the team. Okay, right. You're not. You do jiu-jitsu, that's adorable. Then there's Richie Incognito. Right. He's not hearing a peep out of your kung fu, your jiu-jitsu, your Muay Thai. Don't try. And so I'm with my buddy. And he was a famous actor at the time. And there's a guy who's about 180 in a tank top at the Playboy Mansion. And he keeps coming up to Richie Incognito. And I clocked it because the guy came up and his eyes looked weird. And he kind of was a little too close to him. And Richie's talking to him and kind of turned over, yeah, like that. And then I'm talking to my buddy. And my buddy goes, Jesus, like that. And I look over. And you're going to think I'm kidding. And this is in the Playboy Mansion, sir. Richie Incognito's got this guy over his head, and goes, boom, and just drops him. And he hits his back, and the guy goes, boom, like that. And he just goes, and somebody helps the guy up, and he's kind of let off. And I was like, what happened? He goes, guy's getting a little, get a little jumpy.
Yeah.
It was in his face. And
A little jumpy.
Yeah. There are some men who are just, that's
They
the
just
alpha.
pick you up. At any slight, they just pick you up over their head.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.